and welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fire It Up with CJ show.
Woo!
Woohoo!
If you've ever wanted to bring more goodness into your life, then do we have the Manifesting with Your Mind show for you. Today we'll talk more about how thoughts become things and what you can do to bring more goodness, more happiness, and more of your dreams into your life. That plus we'll talk about planting seeds and solstice, breaking down and slowing down, moving energy and shelves, accurate readings, client breakthroughs, YouTube crash and burns, an Instagram challenge. I know, we're in trouble. Magic morning routine madness, a cracking up CJ, the power of roses, strawberry festivals without strawberries, and what in the world haircuts and bike races have to do with anything. So welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready? You're about to fall off of your chair. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine and to laugh. That was hilarious. Oh, strawberry festival without strawberries. Kind of reminds me of the story when I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'll do real North Carolina. I went in with my girlfriend and I said, "Do you have any fried chicken?" And she said, "No." And I said, "How about biscuits?" And she said, "No." And I said, "What do you have?" And she's like, "All we have is slaw and Coke, ma'am." So they opened up a whole Kentucky Fried Chicken with coleslaw and Coke.
I went to the fridge just now to figure out what to eat in between interviews, and I'm a fairly healthy eater, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I went in the kitchen, and Jessica's out, and I knew we had to shop for a few days, but we were just trying to make it through till the weekend.
Yeah.
And I wiped out everything. And lunch, I cannot believe to admit what I had for lunch. But since you got coleslaw and what else?
Coke. Coca-Cola Coke.
I had organic tortilla chips in spaghetti sauce. That was my lunch just now.
It's pretty. Spaghetti sauce is not all that different than salsa. That's acceptable. I think.
So it was all organic.
Well, I just ate a handful of olives and almonds, so we're kind of in the same. I thought I'm hungry, and I don't have enough time between now and the interview, so I'll just cram this stuff. But I was trying to eat something healthy, so same thing.
Interesting balance. So last Friday night, after we went. Thursday night, we had the Vapor Cave ceremony, the Sweat Lodge ceremony, and we saw signs that said Strawberry Festival for the following day in Glenwood Springs. And so we, of course, decided, why not Friday evening? Let's go to the Strawberry Festival. And it's a live band playing, lots of music, great, lots of your junk foodie kind of things that you can get at a festival. And then some, vendors. We saw one vendor, oh my God, who has brought up this craft from southern Mexico where they hand make rugs and they even use colorings, dyes from the different plants and stuff. And it takes him on a loom just to make a pillowcase, 4 to 5 days. Mm-hmm. And he had his great grandmother's loom, over 100 years old. He was using that. It was really cool. We finished the festival. It was fun. And we head out. It wasn't, over the top, but it was cool. Spend time walking with Jessica, had my shoes off, walking barefoot through the grass, connecting to the earth. We got to the car, and she probably knew it all along, but it took me to then to realize that this was the annual Strawberry Festival for 120 years. There was not a single strawberry there. Not a vendor, not a sign.
Not a strawberry shortcake. Usually they have like strawberry shortcake kind of thing.
Or strawberry rhubarb pie.
Okay, that doesn't constitute that's not enough.
No, they didn't even have that. And this isn't a complaint. I had fun. It was just unusual that the Strawberry Festival had no strawberries.
Did they have roses?
No, but I'm looking out my window now. Oh my God. So when we got here, a few days after we got here, we had the cherry blossoms right outside my window. And there were some deer munching on the rose bushes outside the window. And we thought maybe that meant there would be no roses this year. Maybe they actually trimmed off the excess because I have hundreds of roses. I'm going to call them mountain roses now that are in bloom right outside the window, followed by some other flowers, followed by these yellow daisy things. And it's like mountain flower extravaganza out here. And we're talking about manifesting with our minds. And this is the, how does it get any better than this, or something better. Jessica dug out last week. She was pulling out whiteboards for us to use for our manifestation and for our future work. And she found our vision board from the middle of the time we were in Maui. And one of the things we had written on the vision board was to have a mountain home up above it all, close to town, with trail access right behind the house.
Wow, you're kidding me. Wow.
Darn, didn't check. And so I'm looking at the flowers out here as such an abundant manifestation and magic. And now I'm looking at them all just flowering, and I'm just dumbfounded.
Well, roses are supposed to be, I just read this today too, oddly, that roses are meant for the heart, the healing of the heart or heart. You know, there's certain types of flowers and gemstones and whatever that are related to the heart, and roses are for the heart. So isn't that beautiful? And I'll tell you what, my teacher, when I go to Berkeley and I go to my meditation retreat, he always has a garland of roses around the statues of his two teachers, Nityananda and Rudanandra. And then for the last two retreats, he's handed me over the garlands. And so these are flowers that are hanging over for like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday retreat. People are just praying and sending all sorts of good energy. So these are like super charged up flowers. And so I've been taking these flowers. I'm just mentioning these because there's two types of, there's the rose petals and then there are the rose hips, which are those, you know, the bulbs at the end. And you can actually take those. I'm mentioning this to Jessica. You can take them, dry the leaves out, and then suffuse them with oil, just like you would suffuse anything with oil, and it soaks up the rose essence, and then you can use it on your skin. So you either use filtered water, not filtered water. Is it mineral water? No, which is the one, purified water. So you can use a rose spritzer. So you know how these things are spritzers? You could use a little bit of purified water, rose.
I know what the word is. It's not purified. It's not, but I know it from chemical class or from chemistry class, and you use it in a fish tank, and it's got everything removed from it.
Yeah,
and it will come to me.
Yeah, so actually use that kind of water, and then you do some type of you can look on the web, and then you mix it, and it smells heavenly. And use a little spritzer. And so in the morning, you could, before I meditate, I actually have like a rose, which is infused with all this beautiful energy. And then I just spray it over me before I meditate. And then I use the oil on my skin in the morning. I take the oil and I mix it with grapeseed oil, the rose infused essence. And then I put it on my skin. So since you have so many, that would be a nice thing. Yeah. And it's easy to do. It's not a lot of work. Well, it is. It's some work. You have to dry the rose petals and then infuse them and have them sit around. And then
it might be fun for Jessica. She's been looking up all the flowers of the area and will be taking some classes, I think, at the end of the summer on making essential oils and things of this sort and edible plants. So this sounds like it might be right up her alley.
Yeah, or just take the roses until she takes the classes, dry out the petals, and put them in a sealed jar. And then when she takes the class, she'll have some of these, or maybe just take, the various plants, flower essences in your yard, and then separate them and label them. And then when she takes the class, she'll have these perfect sealed up essences.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. We'll use that as a manifestation for her fall work. Very, very cool. And on that note, we have the house came with a mower, and it was very dry earlier this year. And we were fortunate. We were praying for rain last week with the fires in southern Colorado, and us and the Ute tribe, and everybody was praying for rain. And we got it last weekend. Yeah. And so now everything is greened up so much that I will be playing with lawnmower and seeing if I can bring it to life later today.
Is it one of those?
It is, and I'm an electric mower kind of guy or push mower, but push mowing and me, some reason, didn't agree on Emerald Isle. I don't know if it's not a natural movement. It was too big of a yard. That just says I need to get in better shape. But for this one, since there's a gas mower here for this time only, she's gonna get a gas can today. She's out right now shopping, and I will be and
We had an electric one, and frankly, it is kind of a pain in the butt. And then we had a push one, which we like. But you have to really sharpen the
that's what we've got. Yeah.
cutters. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so how about cutting your hair? You're cutting things. What happened with your haircut?
Universe is playing trickster with me. So, and I don't know where this fits into the manifestation side of things. We talked weeks ago about, I left a YouTube show, went down the driveway, and there's the finish of a bike race, which like I'm like, oh, bike race! I want to get back into bike racing.
Yeah.
And then I cleared my Wednesday evening calendar so that we could go to farmers markets, or Jessica can attend to different classes. I could go to a race, none of which we've done yet, but we have cleared that space.
Yeah.
And there was supposed to be a road race this week. Every other week they alternate mountain bike race, road race. And I haven't been on my road bike in even a year and a half. And I'd be much more prepared for a mountain bike race. So I looked at this coming up on the calendar and said, no, not ready. Let's save that for another time, if ever. I'm retired from the road racing scene. And it got closer, and I'm like, well, maybe. And it gets closer. I'm like, maybe. And I'm like, look, I haven't been on the bike. Let's save it. Let's table it. And then my one friend in the area so far, we'll make a lot more friends. I got to get out more.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't you come do the race with me? And it's the night before.
The road race.
The road race. And I'm looking at my calendar, and I'm like, no, I am set. I'm not going to do it. And he says, I'm into sales. I'm sure I could get you to do it. And I'm like, no, not happening. I'm not going near it with a 10-foot pole. When I'm ready, not yet. And he's like, oh, okay. And so the next day, Jessica decides to do my inline speed skating workout with me that my coach had sent over for us to do. And she actually was faster than me. She's just stunning. She says she's faster than me in everything but a bicycle. I'll grant her that. And so we get the workout done. We have to cut it a little bit short we decide that we're going to go to the local barber. For weeks, I've been wanting a haircut and trying to figure out, it seems like there's only salons around here. And I was looking for a good, manly cut. Yeah. So we find the barber shop on the GPS, punch it in, get over there just in time before they close after finishing or cutting the workout just a little bit short. It turns out there are all these cyclists around because it's by the start of the race. Not only that, but they say it's too late to get a haircut even though they're still open. No haircut by the start of the race. I'm going, universe, what are you doing here? The bike club is for this whole 50-mile long valley. I had no idea where the race is. I've never been to the barbershop before.
Oh my
Why,
God.
Jake? Why?
I have no idea. That is hilarious.
So my friend, I guess he got second in the race, and so I'm going to go riding with him on Saturday. So I will at least see if I'm semi-race ready. But wow. I'm like, universe, it's really cool. It can't have been an accident. Not possible. So is it trying to point out what's still near and dear to my heart? Is it trying to send me a message that I'm supposed to go in a different direction? It doesn't seem that way. In an automatic writing, that's not what I'm getting. But whenever you have such a crazy synchronicity like that, you need to stop and take a look at it. And then you can, look up, say a joke or maybe a profanity or something and go, what are you doing?
That is too funny. I just met with a client, and he said, so what am I supposed to do? So I was coaching, and I said, and we were getting really clear. I actually had a bunch of different directions that we could go, and where I felt pulled, and where I ended up taking him, regardless of what I thought I was going to do, was getting super clear on his purpose. What is your purpose? What's the audience that you're trying to serve? Who are you trying to serve? What's meaningful to you? Who are you trying to serve? What would you like these people that you serve to do? And so we got super clear on that. And he's like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I said, well, what you're supposed to do with this is get really clear with the types of jobs that you would like, because what you had written to me is one of the things you wanted with our coaching is to get very clear on your meaning and purpose and find a job that has meaning. So you can't find a job without meaning, without knowing what gives you meaning. So we just got clarity on that. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm like, okay, so let me actually map the things that you talked about with potential jobs. And so I said, you find meaning when you're working with other people, inspiring individuals, inspiring them to be their best selves. And I said, and at the same time, you want to actually be in this type of working environment. And you've also know about, the types of durations that you'd like to work in. And they're shorter time. You like to work on shorter projects. And I said, what you would be best at is in corporations, or they have these people who head up these huge organizations, and they have so many different problems that, the head VPs or whatever at Microsoft can't handle. So you would be really great at getting someone who's a very, very high level person within a large corporation, or the sole proprietor, like the top CEO of a large corporation, and working on them on projects. They have like fix-it people that come and fix stuff. And I said, so that's what I would do with your information. And then he said, well, I'm going to 2 different job interviews soon. And one of the jobs is with this billionaire guy who wants to work on inspiring small businesses to do X, Y, and Z. And also he has all these other projects that he'd like me to do with other small businesses. And I was like, yeah, that's the one.
Sounds aligning.
But it was just one of those things that I don't think it would have been as crystal clear had we not done that work before. But it's almost like you get clear, and then it either has shown up and you don't see it. That's it versus you. It's like showing up and you see it. But if you don't have awareness, sometimes it's shown up and you don't see it until you kind of get some more clarity seeking, and then all of a sudden it becomes super clear. But I thought that was so interesting. Same thing with your writing. But here's what I'm confused about. There's mountain biking, which is different than road biking. So the race that you're getting pointed to is road biking.
So last time it was a mountain bike race right outside the driveway. It literally goes up on a trail on one side of the house, goes over basically the house in what do you call it, state lands behind the house, and then comes down the other side of the house. So that was a mountain bike race. And I guess this group does alternate mountain bike, road bike, road bike. And then this one was a road race. Now, I was mainly a road racer in Europe, though the only race that I won in Europe was a mountain bike race. But that was my profession, was more on the road side of things, although I always loved the mountain. But there is such a riddle within a conundrum locked inside of me on this one, and I'm learning about it on so many levels. There is the fact that I've had 2 NDEs. I've got some titanium parts. Not a big deal. I'm strong as an ox, but there's always this niggling of concern for safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's inside of me. And so that's one component. There is the childhood side of me that wanted to race so badly that I would race in the juniors with the kids, so to speak. Then I would race with the adults, the seniors.
Sorry, I just had this image of you on these kids on tricycles, and you and your bike going, "Ha ha! I screwed you guys!"
And me with little goggles on my tricycle,
and you with the main bike. Sorry.
But it was as a 12-year-old, I was racing with the senior man.
Right.
And because I was a 12-year-old, I got to race with the senior men, and they'd also let me ride with the masters, and I could do 3 races a day. I was addicted to this thing. And so that's coming back up. And I always challenge my coaching clients, if you want to figure out what you want to do in life, go back to when you were a kid. Go back real in your early years. You knew on some level, you had a clue. You might not say, oh, is it going to be a corporate raider or this or that, but you had an idea. You like to build, you like to paint, you like to play, you like to be an athlete, you like to do drama. You knew about those things. And so this is a remembrance of who I was as a kid, combined with a potpourri of safety concerns, combined with a potpourri of, we just moved into this most amazing home. We're not going to be putting money into bicycles and racing equipment right now. and looking at my equipment going, really, should you be considering it on this 20-year-old relic, which I love? And so that gets into a whole thing. And it's really cool to see because I am pulling on the strings and I got to work on some more abundance issues that I didn't know that I had going back to lack as a child and me trying to scrap the funds together to get a bicycle together so that I could race and what that looks like. And so I've been pulling on all of those strings. There is fear concerns. So let's go and look at what that looks like. There are concerns around, it's a strange adult term to use, responsibility, CJ, of I run the show. I'm in theory the breadwinner. It's both of us. It's a 50-50 thing, but I'm the one who does the coaching and stuff. And so what does that look like? And all of this blended together, and yet universe brings it right to my door or brings me right to the door of the race repeatedly. First time looking for a haircut. Barely get out yet with all that we're doing. And I'm basically showing up just about at the starting line right on the day at the time, having no idea where this thing was on a 50-mile valley.
I have an idea. Why don't you just say, universe, if it be thy will to race, please manifest out of wherever, because I don't have enough money, the equipment to do this. So, and who knows, maybe you'll be riding or your friend will be like, you know what, I'm actually upgrading all my equipment. I can sell this to you for a discount or loan it to you until you get the funds or whatever.
But the funds are there, but the funds are allocated for other things at the moment.
No, I know. Yeah, but I just think you can maybe just ask to have, so it's like, all right, universe, you're sending me a long way. Just now try to manifest a free bike where someone's just going to give you a bike.
And I did put that out there. It's a great point. I put that out there a week ago and said, I'm going to manifest a new mountain bike. And Jessica's like, we're going to work on the website. We're going to work on this. We're going to work on that. And I'm like, you are absolutely correct. Somehow a mountain bike is going to come to me.
Right. And with no effort or energy, if you want me to.
With no effort, energy, in total flow. And so if that bike appears, who knows? And I'm okay if it doesn't. I'm just fascinated by the synchronicities that are going on and the emotions behind it. So maybe that's what's more important, is learning how these are. We all have them. We're doing fine 1 minute and the next minute we're neurotic and we don't know why. And if we can catch what that moment is of inception and start to pull on that string, we can learn so much about ourselves. And so I am learning, why is the racing a trigger? I thought when I last raced, which was 2003. Well, actually 2003, I thought I'd be racing again in 2004. I had done really well at national championships. I had 2 top 10s and woo! And then in 2004, I had this dream that I was going to be riding my bike across the country to help people with learning disabilities. And 2 weeks later, I had sold all my racing gear. And 4 weeks after that, I was riding across the country to help people with learning disabilities. And I haven't raced since. And I thought that time period, and then the following year was the NBA skates, sponsored by Rollerblade, to do a world record skate across country to help people with learning disabilities. I thought since then, I'm done. I've moved past that. I have had in the last year a tremendous urge to race again, but not bicycles. I didn't think it had anything to do with this. So it's just fascinating. It's always spiraling upwards, CJ. It's never, whenever we find ourselves back at the same point, we're never at that same point. We've completely transformed. Our awareness is different. And so why universe is bringing this up right now, I looked up everything when we came here about running clubs and cross-country ski racing, which I want to do, and all these things. Nothing to do with bikes.
I'm wondering what I'm getting intuitively. I don't know if this is right or not, but the sense that maybe you have some trauma associated with those previous bike rides, and
probably so.
Yeah, well, I think it's about getting those healed, and then see how you feel about racing. Because I have a feeling there's this kind of push pull. You kind of want to, you kind of don't want to. You want to, but you have to be safe, and so there's this
hugely so.
feeling of healing that needs to be done for the traumas that were near death trauma. So until
Which were not
the
from racing. They were the other from other things in life. But
I know,
yes,
but I think that it's about going fast, right? So there's this kind of should I go fast? Because the last time I went fast, it didn't go so well, or but you've done so much work, so you're going fast, but in a conscious way, or like you said, I think 3 or 4 shows before about going slowly on a slow bike and just being okay with going slowly.
here's my mascot tortoise. I have to name this guy who I keep on my desk. And yeah, I don't know. I put it out there. I do a lot of manifestation work each morning. That's something I wanted to talk about today. And I have written about for the last year about racing and flying along effortlessly and setting personal records and dancing up hills. All of it I thought was related to running or maybe in the future cross country skiing or the flow state that I get into on my inline skates. None of it had the bicycle component in it, but I have been working on this manifestation around racing, and then it's bringing racing in. Maybe this is the or something better. I have no idea. It's so fun when you can look at your life and you get just astounded, confused, befuddled, and all this range of human emotions by experiences that are just dropped in your lap.
That was so I have on mine breaking down and slowing down. So my experience was we are refinishing our floors. You know how we did the remodel, we did the building last year, and then there were some additional things that I just wanted to have done that couldn't get done. So I'm doing them because my husband ran out of time because he did such a big project before. So we're redoing our floors because somehow the kids leaving is kind of when you become an empty nester, there's a good portion of you that has this drive and instinct to kind of like start anew. Like we've touched every single surface in our house as of the time that by next month at the same time, we'll have touched every surface in this house. Oh, like turned over every box of stuff that's just been sitting there. Do you know what I mean? Like stuff that has
This
kids'
is cool.
crayons. So we've been moving everything. And the last area was my home office, where I actually have a very small, modest home office that is combined with our dining room. And so I have a home
Sorry, we
office.
were
Yeah.
having strange kitty noises off to the side.
Okay. So I have this home office, and I had all these files and like all this stuff from like my last, I would say, 3 years of work that haven't been filed or kind of like organized kind of like in kind of a low maintenance way, meaning not hardly at all. So my husband wants to make sure as we're moving stuff from the floors, he's like wants to make sure that we don't have to hire formal movers depending on the weight of some of the items that we're moving over. So we have this very heavy bookshelf, and he decides to take all of my home office stuff and throw it on the floor. and then, and then move the bookshelf so he knows that it fits. And so I'm on the phone. I'm watching him as he's doing this. Like, what are you doing? And he just moves all my stuff off to the
Boy,
floor.
your concentration levels must have been at an all-time high during that call.
It's like, oh my God. And then afterwards, I then proceeded to have as close of a breakdown as you can because it doesn't make any logical sense, right? Because I could just take these shelves and slide them into the open shelves on the other side. But like sometime when a box that's already unorganized, when it becomes revealed and is put out on to the floor, I said, okay, now you've given me no other choice but to then organize all of this stuff you just put on the floor. And he's like, why? Why can't you just put it back? And I said, you don't understand. Like, that's not how I work. When it gets slid out like that, I have to deal with it. And you've actually like cut off half of my office by taking the shelf and putting it in the other room. So I feel like I have an amputated arm and now I have to sort through all this stuff. But so my energy was like, like it was already crazy because I had done I think, remember we talked last week that I'd done, these a whole week worth of energy transmissions that just kind of came out of the ethers. And then followed by, I had some type of energy session on Monday. I can't even remember what it was. Oh, acupuncture, followed by a girlfriend of mine. We went to go get a card reading, and I said, I think I'm fine. And she said, alrighty. And then, as a sweet surprise to me, she bought me a card reading. So then I had another energy thing. Then I had my teacher that night, and on Monday night, who does energy transmissions. And then Wednesday, I had I had Wednesday. Oh, nothing happened on Wednesday, except my husband then shifted all the stuff on the floor. And then Thursday, so I'm feeling like kind of agitated. Like I'd already like dissipated some of it by yelling at him in, in a crazy poor way, crazy way, kind of unresourced way. And then on Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember which. I have the following happen all within a 1 hour period. I came home and thought, well, I need to paint the walls before the interior designer comes so I can make sure that this is a good color. Like I want a second opinion. So I better go get the paint and paint the walls. And then as I'm dragging the paint in, our contractor who's working on the landscape comes over and says, hey, I'm coming over. I want to show you something. So I was like, okay. So I stop, let go of the paint. This is like literally like 10 minutes after I drag the paint in. I walk outside.
I'm putting a turtle across the screen because if ever there was a time for you to slow down.
Exactly. So then I walk outside and I go and get the stuff. And then I had the paint can out, and then like bing bong, Amazon box. I go out, get the Amazon box, paint a little bit of thing on the wall, close the lids, sit down, and then I get a phone call from someone at I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. So I can't. And then she tries calling again. And you do the dance where I'm moving from one part of the house to the next part of the house. It's like, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I said, call me on my landline. Okay. So she calls me on my landline, and it's like, it's like, okay, I'm sorry. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't hear you. So I know perhaps you can hear me, but I can't hear you this whole experience. Because she was saying, like, I really wanted to get, and she's just a lovely person. I want to get a sense of what's happening. And I was like, I've gained weight. I'm kind of unhappy about it, and whatever. And she said, so can you give me a sense of what's going on? And I was like, if I could, would I be calling you right now? Like it's just that kind of attitude because you're just agitated, right? I'm like, just tell me what to do. Anything. And so I just said, okay, I'm sorry, I can't tune into anything right now. I'm just agitated right now. And then I said, and then I hang up the phone, then I get back on the phone, and I was like, I'm really sorry, but I just can't have this phone call right now because I can't even hear you. So can you do me a favor and send an email, and we'll try to re-engage when your voice is working on your phone, but it's just not working for whatever reason. So it's like, okay, I'm like, okay, goodbye. I just hang up the phone. And I think at that point, I thought, all right, when I was on the phone, that was the final straw that broke the camel's back. And I was just like, oh my God, what is going on with my life? And then I thought, okay, what are you supposed to do? And I literally had to meditate and slow down. And for all yesterday, I just like did nothing. Mm-hmm. And just like literally did nothing or next to nothing. I had like a 2-hour meditation, like between writing and meditating, it was like 2 hours, and I took a leisurely walk, and so I think I'm back to normal, but it was really crazy, super, super crazy. And I did slow down, but it was just all of that movement of energy and the resettling of that energy and wanting it to resettle and not having life help me resettle it was crazy.
it's so important at times to recognize, and this has been an interesting week for me. We did such a crazy, beautiful power hike on Saturday. We went up to 13,500 feet on something called Electric Pass. And it's called Electric Pass because lightning has it loves to bounce around up there.
Mm.
And it started, I guess we didn't get to 13,500. We got to about 13,200. It started raining. We started sprinting off of the hill.
Mm.
And we sprinted all the way down this hill, the 3,000, 3,500 foot drop run. And my legs were exhausted for the next few days. And with the show and everything, they were quite tired. And so what I've done this week, that whole race bizarre thing notwithstanding, is each time I would go out for a ride, I said, we're going to go and do this. I would get out and I'd go, wow, there are two types of chi. There's physical chi and there's emotional chi. And my physical chi may be there, but because of that run, because of everything that's going on, the emotional chi isn't. And so I did one bike ride where I think I went like 10 feet up a hill, turned around, tried going 10 feet up the hill again, turned around and went home. And then yesterday, I did not much more than that. I went like 5 minutes up the hill. And I said, it's not in the tank yet. Rather than trying to push through when I'm feeling like yourself, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when everything's, I'm saying, no, it's just, it is as it is. I'm going home. I'm parking the bike. I'm just going to ground. And that's what she was giving you the opportunity to do with her beautiful cell phone call.
Yes, it was. It really was because I thought, you know what, I'm canceling. I was supposed to do yet another thing where I was doing a nonprofit thing for something, and I was like, you know what, emailed them. I'm like, I can't make it tonight. I'm sorry. I just, for my own peace and sanity, cannot do. And just having that period of time to clean up the floor, which has like thousands of little pieces of paper, business cards, and
which is
files
like pieces of your soul. This is soul retrieval work when you've got it all over your floor.
It's just crazy. And yesterday night, I had finally put everything back, and I was like gone through all the big boxes that were thrown on the floor, so I feel okay to put them back in. But I feel so much calmer today because and then I said, yeah, I also have to cut this project. I'm not going to do this, and I'm not. And a client contacted me, and I was like, no, I cannot. I cannot do any more client work. Even though I did great work this week, I just thought, can't do. But I don't know if I manifested this. I don't know if I manifested it, but this is what happened. And you know, the other thing that I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed the same thing, but when you clear space in your life, right? So I've been doing a lot to clear energy and just let go, let go, let go. And so you're like a kind of an empty vessel. What I've realized is that if you're not careful, things will just jump right in.
Nature abhors a vacuum.
I literally was talking to a friend, and she just seemed to just jump into the cavernous hole and just snuggle in there. And I was like, what? How'd you get in here? Like, no, let go, let go. But I think that what happens is when you have like just an opening, people find it, feel it, and then just jump right into it. So that was another lesson this week, which is like, I guess, you know, you can jump into it, but like this is not a permanent rental unit. Like you have to jump out. You can jump in, but you're going to jump right out because I'm clearing a space for me for things to happen in my life, not for you to jump in and snuggle in the cave. Like, no thanks.
Boundaries.
Yes, it's like, no thanks. Anyway, so that was my breaking down, slowing down, moving energy, and yeah, that's my side. So what happened with your crashing and burning with your YouTube stuff?
Oh man, this was cool. Actually, the farther I step back from it, the cooler I see it. You know, I have this vision for millions. I don't see why not. Millions watching us on our YouTube channel. I then see us going and having either an Amazon program, a Netflix program, or who knows, maybe something associated with Oprah in the future. I see it clear as day. And I know that I have to keep challenging myself. It's not that I don't want to get out of flow, but you know, we have almost 50,000 subscribers on YouTube now, and
Fantastic.
Thank you. And it just continues to grow. And I feel like I get to explore different formats, what this looks like. We so are working to call in the team of people to chop up videos for us and put out little smaller things. And so I've got this symbol in my mind for dream team, calling in the dream team, calling in the dream team. And I know I get to stretch and get uncomfortable in order to learn and to grow. And so we had when High Sierra was updated on this kind of supercomputer that I use for the studio here, the video card wasn't fast enough for our green screen work.
Oh, no.
And so, but it is what it is. We learned that was the challenge. And so we get a new video card in, which will arrive Saturday, and get everything upgraded. And but in the meanwhile, we're like, well, why don't we just, instead of having a backdrop, film outside? It's the most gorgeous lanai or patio up over this whole Roaring Forks Valley. Why don't we just do it from there? Seemed like a great idea. I spent extra hours in prep and setup and buying a few extra cords, power cords and stuff to get all this thing working. You can't do an actual test because live means live, but you can do everything short of there you can. And so we set this thing up. I'm all excited about it. I'm like, cool backdrop. This is going to be kind of fun. Jessica's saying this effort you did to put in here is way too much. We'll have to find a way to streamline. Like, absolutely right. And you flip the switch on and the winds kick up and the top of the laptop starts bouncing back and forth. So the image is bouncing back and forth. So we have to go kind of snuggled up against the side of the house, which means we're in the shade, which means all of a sudden I became a silhouette. And then it turns out 2 days later, we found out that the internet tower was going down. And so all of a sudden the signal's in, out, people are catching my every other word, catching my video, they're gone. We restart the call, which means for a live, you have to give them a new URL. So they've got to go and find you because it's not on the same page. Some people were kind enough to come on over and try again. And then the connection's bad, good. And I'm like, well, we're on an Ethernet cable here, but it says I'm on wireless. Jessica's like, cut the wireless. We'll be fine on Ethernet. I'm like, if we do that, I'm wondering if it'll maintain. She's like, it'll hold the signal. Click. And everybody's gone. We restart it. From there, we're like, that's it. We're going inside. But we didn't know that the tower's not working properly. And so we're inside and it's in, out signal. And it was just a total beautiful crash and burn. And I have no regrets, CJ. I was, my ability to, I can't watch a movie where there's embarrassment. It must be a past life thing. But I'll be like, shut it off, hold, pause, let me leave the room. And here
My
I
kids
am,
are exactly the same way. They're like, when it gets really awkward and embarrassing, they're like, I have to leave the room. I can't even watch it.
That's me. And here I am crashing and burning in front of, we'll say dozens rather than hundreds of thousands. I don't know how many have actually viewed it. But it's okay. And I want to challenge everybody to be okay with the total crash and burns. Because that's where you learn. That's where you grow. We got a video card, Express on its way here. We won't try that again until, until we get a new laptop in. And my guess is we're going to be getting one in next week. Another, it's got to have the super duper video card. And so we'll have that in next week. But it's okay to completely and totally crash and burn.
You're just gonna have to you have to figure out one time that what's wrong, otherwise you're not gonna know. And so I know that your vision is and your mission is to be on the road with child in tow, right, and to have whatever settings are there. So this is kind of a trial run to make that all a reality. So there's just no other way to have done what you've done aside from doing. There isn't, right? Unless you just don't advertise it and whoever shows up and just have 2 or 3 of your friends show up and see. There really, and even that, a
private call. There may be some way to do a private YouTube live. It was so many unique challenges leading up to it as far as how you get it loaded days in advance and let people know and create a new URL. It's just a learning. And I don't know that there's this school of YouTube Lives. There probably is. There's a school of everything. We haven't looked for it diligently, but we did the best we could with the information we had to get that going.
Yeah.
And, one thing it spurred me on to is I've had this call to do Instagram for a while now. And when we first set up the Instagram account, something happened, and we're waiting for this window for something to open back up for us with Instagram. But we set up this new account, and I've been wanting to get it going. And I found out that recently the Instagram videos went from 15 seconds to a minute. And I'm like, that's it. I'm just going to do minute videos on Instagram from 15 seconds to a minute. And then I just found out that from a coaching client today, that just this week, because I've been looking into video length and stuff on Instagram, they're opening it up to YouTube length videos.
Oh.
And so we may be one of the pioneers. I'm really excited to try this, to do our whole YouTube show on Instagram as well, and be one of the first out there to get a show going on Instagram. And probably because of Wednesday's festivities, I think that will motivate us even more to do it. Something hugely positive is going to come out of it. I bet 9 out of 10 we're going to do something on Instagram starting in the next week. You never know. And you have to me, life is not about getting comfortable and sitting on the couch. All the manifestation work, I call a two-step dance. One, you can write it out, you can envision it, you can heart feel it out. That's my equivalent of brainstorm it out as much as you want. But then you get to step forward into the flow, step into the flow. And that's what experimenting to me is doing.
Yeah. Well, for me, if I think about when I would take a meta perspective, I look and take the big picture perspective of what's happening. And I thought, wow, you know what? This time around, when I hit like a very busy, hectic time, I slowed down. In the past, I would have tried to gut through it or like focus even more or be more and more intense. And like, what does that do? That just leaves you in a more contracted kind of like, more fixed position, which I think actually makes you less capable during that time. And so this time just taking a break and relaxing and go, wow, this could be really stressful, but how could you go through? So this remodel and everything that's happening, I have new beginnings happening right and left simultaneously, like 5 or 6 new beginnings happening simultaneously.
It's solstice.
Yeah. It is. Okay.
Beginnings. Well, solstice technically is yesterday morning, and if people are hearing this, it's 7 or 8 days out. But to me, the solstice on either hemisphere and either end of the spectrum is the most incredible time to plant seeds, because this giant rock is swung all the way to one direction, is stopped, sort of like a bungee jump at the bottom, and now is going to come all the way the other direction. And so it's the time of pivot. It's the time of lightness. It's the time of change. It's the time of planting. So you are in perfect alignment. And for everybody out there, you're only a week past if you're hearing this. Now is the time to plant those seeds, write them out, step forward, start projects, just maybe not 5 or 6 at the same time like CJ's doing.
Yeah, do not do that. But what's interesting is and I've been in this place before where I just unconsciously or just didn't realize, I didn't understand the amplitude of these projects and how they were all going to like pile up right at the same time in terms of chronological time. And just saying, okay, well, it is what it is. There's not a lot you can do aside from just slow down, because if you try to go too fast or try to get super contracted and focus, then you'll probably get sick or something's going to break. Just this time around, just calmly take time off and just recalibrate and then start over again and approach it in a much slower, kind of deliberate way, cut some stuff out that you can't do. And so I'm writing, various emails going, I know yesterday we talked about this and you wanted to begin this, but I just can't do this. I'm so proud of you
though, CJ.
Yeah. So
this is the pruning we all need energetically. I think we can take a cue from you on this one.
Yeah. So I think that I guess if you think about it during a summer, this is what happens, right? You have the summer solstice, things are now growing and maybe out of control into like places that into your tree is going
Like
into
my
your neighbor's
yard. That's why
yard,
I'm
you
going
know?
to pull it.
Yes, you need to prune, right? Because otherwise it's it just feels too crazy. Just like all those 4 or 5 boxes on my floor. It's like, ah, and I just had all these boxes, organized stuff, and like day after day pulling stuff out of my house and giving it to Salvation Army, throwing it out in the garbage can. Just, feels so good. Like, why do I need this paper from 5 years ago? Why is this even here in my life? Goodbye. I'm not going to read this again. Throw it out. So it feels so good. It feels
Just
so good.
reminded me I get to call the garbage after this.
Yes. Okay, good.
Well, we set up a new service because the service we were using, you had to take your garbage can a mile down the road to where they would actually pick it up. And it occurred to us that what's going to happen the first time it rains or snows or there's mud or there's stinky stuff and you have to put it in the back
Oh, no, of your
of your
car.
vehicle. So we got this new place, but I think they got lost or something.
Oh,
We put
no.
out the trash, and after moving, there's something special about having all those boxes out and how much lighter you feel. And so putting it out felt great. And then we knew the energetic shift as soon as they were going to pick it up would feel tremendous. And instead, you had to drag it back into the house. And it gets a little geek. So I guess I get to do some manifestation work on that. And my two-step dance means I have to remember to actually call them. So you missed.
Before we close, tell me about the magical morning routine. What's
Oh my God,
happening?
it's going great. It's going great. It's going great. And what we're understanding now is why people want this so much. And a big part of it is people's desires to either make change or bring things into their lives, and they're stuck and haven't figured out a way. And so it's really occurred to me that it's a manifestation program. When you do the
Mm,
work in the morning, you're manifesting. You're
right.
creating the life of your dreams. You're creating the day of your dreams. You're taking back charge of what you want, and you're working kind of like your own magician to help bring it about.
Right.
And so it's absolutely taken off. And we have our first class next Thursday, and I'm ecstatic about it. It's a self-paced program, so you don't have to go to any of the classes. Because I know when we launched Awe, people are going, well, I don't know if I'll be able to keep up or this or that. But it's self-directed. You can attend classes, you cannot. We keep repeating themes. It's all good. But it's getting really, really exciting and helping people to create. I love to use the term alchemy, to
Mm,
turn lead into gold, to turn your life, which isn't lead, it's not a lump of lead, but your life, which all of us were not reaching. I don't want to use the word potential. There's always things that I'm capable of this. I'd like to do that. Not the I will be happy whens, but it's the things that are like 1 degree off that we wish we could figure out a way to get done. We wish we could figure out a way we can see the life. We can see it in front of us, but we don't know how to reach it.
yeah.
And that's what the magical morning routine for busy spiritual seekers like you and me, CJ,
Right.
that's what it's doing.
Yeah, it's a calibration. You're just like a couple degrees off. You need to just slight calibration and you're there. But you don't know unless you try lots of different things. Like just trying the things that you know over and over again. If they're not working, it sounds like you need help, which is why they go to your class.
Exactly. And it's come up maybe it came up with Alberto Fialdo on the show yesterday. It came up with Jessica this morning. It's come up so many different ways. You can never create it. It's Einstein who said it. You can never solve a problem from the same level of energy from which it was created. We all need to get outside of our box and put another system in place and see things from another perspective in order to step forward. We need that as much as anybody else.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to. I mean, I literally thought, okay, in the past, you've done it in this particular way. You have a lot of stuff, so you have to get focused, ruthlessly prioritize, and just kind of laser focus, contract, and just like a laser. And this time, I'm like, well, wait a second. Like what that's going to happen is like your shoulders are going to tight, your body gets contracted. So how about if you just kind of like the sun? Like how about if you just kind of open up and just let things come and not have so much plan and controlling and just allow things to come what would happen? And I don't know the answer yet because this is the very first time I've done that. But I know that my previous habits were like focus, and that worked like 90% of the time, but usually at the detriment of my personal health and emotional health. You're talking about your chi, like my energy would be depleted, but I don't want that. So this time I'm just kind of like slowing down, opening up, and just like, come on, I'll take on what comes, whatever it is. So like today, same thing, like someone called to deliver something. I was trying to write something else interrupted me. I'm like, okay, like it just didn't bother me as much because when you're a laser and something gets in your way, it's like, but when you're kind of like a diffuse kind of like ocean, like something can kind of come in and like it doesn't feel that much because you're kind of like in the depths, you're the ocean, so you have a much larger body of water versus a laser. So that's what I'm trying. So we'll see.
Oceans and lasers. I love
Yes.
it. And it's got me thinking, I don't want to belabor the racing point, but before I was not grounded, I may have been a laser, but I was a neurotic laser.
Right.
And that was my world. And now I don't know that I'm diffuse. Listen, maybe obtuse, but I'm more grounded. I'm more centered. I remember one of the last races I did, I wanted to hug my competitors, and I'm like, look at all the pretty colors. That's when I knew I was done. And bringing those pieces together. And what does that look like as a new person? I was looking at my watch, and people ask, what's my watch? It's a Garmin Vivo Active 3. We don't make any money off of them. It'd be good if we did. But I was looking at my watch over the last week or two, stress levels, heart rate, things of that sort. And I've managed to get it lower and lower and lower, even though it's been such a full time in our life. I'm doing what you're talking about, which is how can I relax into this experience rather than trying to constrict and fight it.
Yeah, it's almost like you're focusing on the inside to the laser inside versus focusing the laser outward
Oh,
towards
I like
penetrate.
it.
You know what I mean? So I've been it's not that I'm kind of unfocused and like, it's actually I'm focused on the inside, just like, okay, what is my heart feeling? What is my heart feeling? Go back into my heart. And then like I'm feeling simultaneously my heart and I'm aware of the general, like the ocean, just kind of like the kind of turbulence around me. So I'm focused and aware versus before laser and penetrating. So we'll see where this takes me. Because I think you're right. It is grounded. Because if you're not focused, then this is kind of like, if there's no anchor, then you would be just kind of rolling around in nothingness. But there's actually an anchor and then also an awareness. And it's actually, I like it so far. Let's talk next week and see where it goes.
All right. On that note, any last words of wisdom you want to share here?
No, thank you.
And I have Sir Meowsers who's pacing back and forth, and I can see him licking his chops since the mama is out. So that is usually a cue that things are about to get interesting.
On that note.
For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
Along with Sir Meowser saying, be well, have fun. Wow, there's so much goodness here. First off, get the magical morning routine. Magic 40, get 40% off. With that shameless plug said, and that's for 3 more days only. I want people to get grounded. I like this laser on the inside. I like to call it walking on the edge of the sword, which is right on that focus point. Get focused on the inside. Ground. Imagine strands of golden light grounding you into the earth. Get grounded there. And from there, everything great will come. So, above and beyond all else, shine bright.
Woo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.